problems that we've got. So this was my fault. I take blame because I didn't follow the procedures of getting a quote. He's done more than he said he was going to do. He's cleared quite a large area of that path, which will make it easier to strim in the future. Whether you want to undertake the strimming of that path now as a result of what has happened, I will leave it entirely with the parish council to decide at a later date. But my own view is, and I've learned my lesson, that I would suggest we pay this account. It's £350, we'll get a refund of the VAT. So I would like your permission to pay that sum of money, but you may come back and have a go at me, I don't mind. And on the second point, it's a very interesting position, because I looked at the OS map, and admittedly it was an old OS map, and I've sent off for a new one tonight, a more detailed one, but there is no OS footpath detailed round those tanks. Now, if I can just explain the path that we have cleared from the back of the baker's house towards the tanks, that path was created by Mike Diamond when he owned the land. He owned the land up to the tree line. He put fencing in to stop people walking through his fields when his sheep or whatever he had in those fields were grazing. And that's why that fence got put up. Mike has confirmed that, and when the agent asked Mike, and I phoned Cooper and Tanner, they said to him, "Is there any footpath, Mike?" And he said no. Well, Mike is now not very well, and he probably didn't register the fact, but that path is, if on the land registry it says Mike's land is up to the tree line, so the path, if the Allsops bought that land, they have bought land up to the tree line, and it is their path, and I've had no comeback from my emails to them. As regards the path that runs on the, I can only describe it on the north east side. There's a path that runs around the back of the tanks, if you know, and then it does a right angle back towards the little triangle of land. I don't know if you know that, those that have been up there. Adjacent to that, there is a field which they have also just purchased. And my inkling is that the same criteria applies to this path as does the path that was originally set by Mike Diamond. In other words, we don't have any responsibility for that path. Neither probably do Wessex Water or Bristol Water, but in fact the Allsops probably own it themselves, and they've asked us to, quite mischievously probably, to repair this path ourselves. So I would go back to them with those queries. So one, I suggest we just refuse this quote anyway, because I don't think it's relevant, because I don't think it is our footpath. And going back to the first point, I would like your permission to pay this sum and have done with it, and whether you choose to renovate this path in the future, I will leave it entirely in the next chairman's hands and your hands. That's all I've got to say.
I'm completely confused with that. I just think as a council perhaps we should be aware of where there are public and private rights of way, and if they are being used by people, you can create a right of way of a land even though it isn't intended for that purpose, it's continually used and you can show right of use, etc. So I guess we all need to be a little bit conscious of that, and also perhaps identify who, and it's very simple to go onto land registry and identify who owns land if there is a question or query about it. And then I think there was an assumption made that they owned it and therefore they were responsible for it, and I think that caused some angst that they didn't own it. So I didn't know whether, I mean, I was thinking good relations, it wouldn't take very long to work out who might actually own the land.
Well, I've just tried to explain. On the land registry, Mike Diamond's land went to the tree line, and he put the fencing up to create a footpath. So the footpath, and Mike always used to do it, hadn't he, David?
Yeah,
he always used to trim it out once a year to keep it clean. The new owners, for whatever reason, are not... The new land registry hasn't yet been registered for the new purchasers.
Okay.
But Cooper and Tanner, and I put this to them, if they bought land owned by Mike Diamond, as shown on the land registry, then they have bought the land up to the tree line.
That was the confusion, because when Owen and I discussed it, we didn't know whether they'd actually acquired that land as well. It was probably delineated by a fence, so they have acquired it all.
Yeah, and there is no footpath on the land registry along that boundary. They looked it up, and I looked it up tonight. There's nothing on the OS map.
Okay. You could still argue that there's one being created privately, but that's fine. It just seems that
Well, I think it has been created
yes,
privately.
Yeah, okay.
But Bob,
just to query, I mean, have all the new members got a copy of the footpath map?
There was a copy in the pack I gave you, when you joined last year. You'll find
You've got
if there isn't, let me know.
8:15 is that, so that's starting from our car park, comes all the way around to the reservoir. So there's a footpath that goes down the hill which is in front of Windy Ridge, which goes down to Peter Osborne's land, which is 8-2. And you've got the one that comes down towards the cider farm, which is 8-1.
but that path there joins the end of the track here, and it doesn't go that far.
No, I mean
there
is no footpath defined as far as Somerset County Council are concerned to the track.
No.
So the footpath, as you say, comes round the reservoir and then goes off to where the horses are kept by the steers.
The Diamond
Stewart. Yeah.
Oh, this yes, Angela's field. Yeah.
But there is no footpath going back to the track.
No, there isn't.
No.
But people use that.
Which they shouldn't do, to be brutally frank. But yes.
People do. I use it every day. Yeah. But it's interesting. But
so is that part of track that we're talking about with the section that we were talking about doing? Because maybe I should have got it clear in my mind, but I always thought the bit we were talking about was the bit that was running along the ridge was where it was overgrown. You're saying that's not the bit that was overgrown and that's not the bit that's been cleared?
No, the walking along the ridge is the part that was overgrown.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, which we have been given a bill for clearing out rubbish, which Adrian Criddle has billed us for. What I'm saying is the path that runs from the far corner of the tanks along to the stile,
right.
I think it's part of that field.
Right.
Because the farmer puts the fence up.
Yeah.
And it's always in disrepair. And do you remember, David, years ago we were going to stone it?
Yeah.
Do you remember? We never did it.
But we asked Bristol Water,
Yeah.
because they were...
That was the bit that runs around, that's again on the ridge, isn't it? Around the Bristol Water Reservoir.
Yeah.
So that you used to look down on Civil Rich's place for.
Yeah, but down the side of that.
Yeah.
But that's defined as footpath as well, because that's the bit that's coming
That's
around.
that bit there.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think that map is slightly wrong compared with what it is on the ground.
Okay.
But I rest my case, but I don't believe that that's a footpath that we should have responsibility for.
I'm not, Chairman, I'm happy to go along with your recommendation of paying for what's being done, because I think for us to try and unpick that now is going to be very, very difficult. Work has been done. As you say, I think we've all learned that we need to make sure that it's clear, because from what was said in the email that was sent, Mr. Criddle obviously got a different end of the stick to what we thought was the end of the stick that we were working with, so that's fine. But I think for us to try and unpick that now is going to be very, very difficult. I agree with your view that I wouldn't want to see us take the quote up. And in the meantime, the new landowners do need to sort out with the people they bought it from as to exactly what it is they bought and the responsibility they bought with it.
Yeah, well, we've made that point.
Yeah. So happy to say, if yours was a proposal, I'll second it. If not, I'll make a proposal that we pay it.
Okay, well, Bob's made a proposal that we pay this account, and 2, we reject so there's 2 parts to it, and 2, we reject the quotation, and we find out really who owns that footpath.
Can we just be clear as well going forward, if discussions are held, because we all know people in the village and discussions can be held and people do approach us, and I think the lesson learned is that we do just need to be absolutely clear on what those discussions look like and what our authority might be in those discussions. I just think it's a good exercise to just...
Yes, I did inform the parish council at a meeting that I had discussed work with Adrian to clear some wire. I did
November,
report that.
Yes, in November.
Yeah, but what I was shocked with was the value that it came in at. I was quite surprised because we didn't talk that. But he has cleared the path. It is much better. That's Bob's proposal. Do I have a seconder for that? Jane, all those in favour? Against? Melina, you didn't vote. Are you abstaining?
I'm abstaining, yeah.
Oh, abstain. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
That will be paid tomorrow.
Lesson learned, yeah. And I think, yeah, if you do get involved with people that want to give us a price, just get a quote and we'll go from there.
Have a look at the financial regulations we've got in the situ as well, because obviously in one of the documents when you first started, one of them is our financial regulations. And there's some quite clear stuff in there actually, which you might wish to have a look at.
Yeah.
And also, if the clerk could again circulate to any members who haven't got the footpath map.
Yeah, so anybody who hasn't got it.
Because again, when we come to discuss these, every one of those footpaths has got a number on, so we can actually identify which one it is, because otherwise it's that footpath beyond that field with the horse. And most of them are lost, and I know we've got to try and explain to us, the contractor, as to where they've got to find it. So
yeah, I mean, a good example of a path redirection is the Knoll path from the top. Mike diverted the path all the way round and up the side rather than across his fields.
Yeah.
He did that, and that is the path now, the Knoll. So you can see why people want to do it. Okay. Right, last item. We're entering probably the most difficult part of the construction now, and the proposal is that we just establish a new development group now, and making it quite sort of simple with experienced bodies of Sarah, Bob, myself and Owen to oversee the tendering, the construction involving site meetings, budgets, calling down the cash, dealing with any hopefully additional expenditure items, which I hope won't come up, dealing with the contractual matters, what sort of contract are we going to give these people that are going to build it? Is it going to be an RABA contract, or is it going to be one of our own forms of contract? Well, we need to be watertight and make sure we have plenty of, make sure we have our ducks in a row. So, with your permission, subject to any comment, can I propose that Owen, myself, Bob and Sarah become that new team, subcommittee, to see this development through, because it is now gathering pace, and we're starting to approach some serious matters which I think we've overcome. But can I have your approval, please, that that is to take place? Are there any comments, disagreements with that?
Yeah, I thought we had a shop committee that were going to see it through from start to finish, and I'm a little bit aggrieved that that's being pushed out.
Well, Melina, you haven't been pushed out. The fact of the matter is, we're not talking to the shop now. This is a matter between the construction team that we get, and takes on a different format altogether. What the shop get up to in the interim is really their responsibility now. We've gone through. We're putting together our lease matters. We've looked at their finances. Everything's go from there. So now we don't need to meet with them. We need to meet with the builders, and we need to meet with our architect. And we don't want a huge, if you like, presence. We just want to make sure that we've got people there who understand what. And I'm not saying you don't understand it, but we just need to keep it tight and simple so we can manage it. That's all. No disrespect to you. And if there are shop meetings, you will be invited as normal. So
There will be shop meetings, of course, because
Yeah.
we've agreed with the shop we're going to have quarterly meetings. So there will be quarterly meetings with the shop management committee. Because that's essential we have that, because we need to have some ongoing dialogue with them. So that's a different thing, I suppose, to building.
So can I have?
Yeah, can I just have a question I have? It's just about process rather than content here, because there was a decision and it was quite clear, and it does seem that we've got a solution here or a plan going forward that hasn't necessarily been brought about by considerations raised by the council. So I just think it's just having that clarity that when you do put yourself forward and we all volunteer and talk for our time and our services, that, I think we need to be clear what I think Owen Knight says at the point of references, what it is you're putting yourself forward to support and to do. Because I think it's quite hard now to understand going forward. It's kind of a slightly different conversation to what we've had, and it just feels slightly uncomfortable that having had a group, it's now suddenly decided that the group will become something different. I appreciate the reasons why I understand that.
That's perfectly fine. I'll stand down and Melina can take my position. I'm perfectly happy with that.
That wasn't what I was suggesting, but
No, I'm perfectly. If there is an issue that I've tried to explain, we're now moving on to it. We're not talking to the shop any longer. What we're talking about now is a construction project, a lot of money, £200,000 project, and we need to have regular meetings, and you yourself are fully aware of construction problems and the way you have to govern and control the builders and know what's going on. So that's all we're saying. We don't want to hit it, overclub it. We just want to have a small subgroup with experiences that can deal with the builders and the architects and the clerk of works or Somerset County Council building surveyor, etc. We want to have a strict timetable. We want to know when we're going to draw the money down. We need to manage it, and that's our proposal. Melina.
The size of the group you're proposing is exactly the size of the group that was there from the offset. It's 4.
Well, Bob can now get involved in it.
But why does Bob have to be involved in it?
Well, look, Melina, if you want to make an issue, I will stand aside and leave you to it. I'm quite happy. I'm quite relaxed.
Well, can I just say, I don't think it's an issue. So I didn't think it's an issue. I think it's a point of principle. rather than an issue, because an issue sounds quite negative. But it is a point of principle about process, and just that suddenly there's a decision that's been made about creating a new group, and whether or not that's been actually thought and considered.
Okay.
Can I just say something?
We put something to you. Tell us what you believe it should be then.
Can I just answer Marlene's point? Fair point, Marlene, about the size of the group and so forth, but of course you've got to look at experience, because, obviously, from my point of view, if I'm going to be driving a lot of the stuff, I need to make sure that what's being decided or discussed, that I'm confident to take that through, because there is going to be a huge amount. I mean, this is not going to be just a few bits of paper. There's going to be a massive amount of stuff, and experience is going to count for quite a lot on that, actually. It really is. To be perfectly honest with you, I'd be quite a bit dug out myself, to be honest, because I can see the amount of work that's involved, potentially. But of course, a lot of it is administration. A lot of it is going to be writing letters, perhaps scheduling, dealing with the contractors, dealing with utility companies, and so on and so forth. A lot of that's going to be down to me, and that's right and proper. It should be. But I do think experience does count.
We are also employing experts to act on our behalf, who will be there to provide a lot of.
But they're not project managers.
Okay, so
They're
that's
experts,
another
but they're not
issue.
project managers.
Okay.
Now, you could say, well, actually, why don't we employ a project manager? Maybe that's something you would want to consider.
Well, all I was going to say was well, two things. One, when we set up the original group, I think it was very much as a liaison group between the parish, the shop and the hall, and it was those people that were set up, which obviously I was part of to start with. And so this is a different role. If it is causing concern, I don't have a problem not doing it. All I would suggest is, as long as everyone who's on the committee will commit to give Owen the time and support he is going to need, and will be available for the meetings that potentially will be called at short notice as well, in daytime as well, then as long as people can sign up to that and are available to do that, then I'm happy to not get involved at all. Ultimately, this group doesn't decide anything anyway, but it has to send everything back to this council for us to make the decisions anyway. But as I say, as long as the members of the committee are able to do that and are able to give, as I say, the support to Owen at the times it's required, then again I'm easy. I certainly don't want to cause a problem with people, but it was hoped that this was a useful thing rather than something that was going to cause a problem. So,
John?
My thoughts, for what it's worth, I personally think we should be harnessing anybody's time and enthusiasm and passion for this particular stage, because as you rightly identified, there's a lot going on. I agree there's a number that's too many, but I would also say that there is a number that just might help delegate, or when people are ill, sick, work commitments, might give a balancing view or opinion on something that might just assist. So personally, my thoughts is anybody that's prepared to put their hand up at this point should be...
Well, are you prepared to put your hand up?
I personally am not, and that's predominantly for my previous involvement with the project. I wouldn't want to muddy the waters, so
This is nothing to do with the shop. This is a building.
And my work commitments with my family as well. I am already over-committed at the moment, but it's not for me.
I'll be honest with you, I do have a fear that it's all going to end up here. That's my biggest worry. Paul Martin went through a whole raft and list of things that we're going to look at and have to see to and deal with. And it really did put the wind up me, to be honest, when he started reading out the list. And so it's going to have to be a lot of time involved in it. Whatever we do, it's going to require a lot of time.
If I was to commit, and I'm very happy and I would be fully supportive of you, and I think that I would be, I would want to make sure that I was fully included in the discussions, so that things didn't happen and you're suddenly made aware of it. Because if you're party to something and you put your hand up and say, I'll commit, I just wouldn't want to think that, I'm pulled in when I'm needed, and when I'm not needed, I'm not there. So that would be my only concern. But I don't mean to cause offence at all, and it's not a negative view. It's just that I felt process hadn't really...
Yeah, I'm not sure. don't want to, I just feel as if I've missed your point. As a parish council now, we are now in a position where we have funds, we have planning application, we have our tender documents about to be drawn up, and when we can go out to tender to employ a builder who will hopefully construct the site. And as you know, in site construction there are many variables and ticks we've got to do, particularly on health and safety, particularly on insurances, for instance, making sure that the footings are right, making sure that everything technically is put in order, which is some of the experiences that around this table have experience in construction and construction law, because we don't want it to go wrong.
No, I
Okay, so that is the scenario, and all I am suggesting is that rather than over-clubbing it with people probably that may not, all I'm suggesting, we don't want to over-club it. We want to keep a small committee with experience in this matter. That's what we've tried to discuss with you, and we've put forward a suggestion of senior people, if you like, including yourself, Sarah, that will see this project through from a technical point of view. That's all we're asking.
Just in terms of the project management, have you considered that? You've obviously looked at the cost of that.
We looked at the cost. I mean, the cost is significant. You know,
So I used my architect, and he would come in and he would make sure that the budget, all the works each month were signed off. He would make sure there was health and safety.
That's his job anyway, under RIBA. He certifies to the contractor.
No, he had a different role in it as a project manager, and he would come in and he would go through. It's not certification of works, it's of the costs, so that we budgeted and
No, he would
set stage
certify the costs in association with the work that has been done.
Okay, that wasn't his role. He had a particular role as an architect that was separate to that. But that's fine. So that's how we used it, and he was in charge of health and safety and other things, and it was not a significant cost. So it's just another option. That's all just in my experience that we certainly used. And the project we used, it was an 8 to 12 month project, and with significant costs that aren't dissimilar to what's here. So anyway.
Should we don't want to increase our costs any further? This is already costing a huge amount of money.
Absolutely.
So we need to manage our costs.
Sometimes though, you just
But if we have
you save by your
experience,
spending,
if we have
because you
experience,
just you might risk actually doing something that you're not expert at avoiding.
Malcolm, any comment?
No, to be honest, it's something that I feel is a little bit beyond me. There's a lot to be gone into on this, and I'm not qualified to undertake that.
I understand. Thank you. Melina?
I just wanted to respond to what Bob said about meetings and short, at short notice and stuff. I just wanted to point out that I have actually attended every single meeting, apart from the meeting with the builders that I wasn't invited to. Other than that, I've attended every meeting.
I don't think I've been in attendance for a builders'
No,
meeting.
we had an informal
You were?
we had an informal meeting with I think it was Ryan Paul.
Oh,
I think last year.
Yeah.
And that was very informal. It wasn't a formal meeting. It was just
No, but I wasn't
Yeah.
invited to it, which is why I didn't attend to that, whereas
they just wanted to
the other
know
three
more about
members
it.
of the committee did attend it.
Yeah. David, what are your feelings about it?
Well, I'm here if you want assistance, but I'm not going to put myself forward for anything else. But I can obviously do a lot of building construction with people. But
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm in your hands. Can I?
Basically, you're putting a proposal.
I'm putting a proposal
for
to
the
you
vote for the meeting to vote on.
Yeah.
And you put a proposal in that you've got
that there's a
a working group of
subcommittee
4 people
to deal with the structure. And I would propose that it's Owen, myself, Bob, and Sarah,
That's the first proposal.
That's our first proposal. Is there a seconder for that proposal? Okay. Is there an alternative proposal? Does anyone want to propose? Yes?
I'd like to propose the 5 names that I mentioned, namely Bob, Owen, Colin, Sarah and Melina.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that proposal? Okay. Right. So
proposal 1 first of all.
on my proposal. Okay. All those in favour of
And make it clear. Do you vote clearly?
Yeah, will you vote clearly on my proposal that it is Owen, myself, Bob and Sarah. All those in favour of that one, please signify.
3, 4, 5.
Okay, and now the second proposal
To
to include Melina. Yeah. Are you voting?
Sorry.
Right, okay, that's 3. So, dear me.
So the first proposal is one that the council.
So we'll go forward on that. Okay. Do we have any matters of consideration for the next meeting?
No, the only thing to say about the next meeting, of course, will be quite a busy meeting, there'll be quite a lot going on, and one of the major things, of course, is end of year finance, and there will be a lot of financial stuff to look at next time around, but I will make sure you receive everything in advance, so you've got time to look at things. There'll be a set of accounts to have a look at, and there's a couple of other matters. There's a matter with regard to the session that took place yesterday with the National Grid. That needs to be discussed. We also need to discuss the valuation that we've now got.
As we've got that way.
And I will now circulate that. I've just got it.
Fantastic.
So once I've got a chance to circulate that, I'll circulate it to everybody, so you'll have a copy of that before the meeting. Have a look at it. Make some quite interesting reading there and observations and suggestions. So I'll make sure you've got that well in time before the next meeting. So those are 2 items that relating to the building that will be on there. We will also have, presumably by that stage, a tendering pack available. So we will be in a position to tender out to the 4 people that we have currently requesting tender packs. So that, I think there'll be a fair bit on the April 5th meeting to talk about.
Malcolm, I won't be at the next meeting. Are you happy to chair it, or would you like to, as there's such a lot to do, hand that over to Bob or something like that? It's quite a lot to do.
I don't know if Bob will be prepared to do that.
I'm not sure.
Is that
I'm not
right?
sure we can do it anyway. I think
think
Malcolm
you
wants
can
any
just-
extra
yes.
support at the meeting. I'm sure we'll all support him.
Yeah,
But I think it has to be
Malcolm,
who's
you
gonna-
will be chairing it then, but the best thing to do is call on some support for any particular item.
And if you decided on the night that you didn't feel comfortable doing it, then obviously at that meeting we could then elect another chairman for that meeting only. So that would be permissible, but only if you decided not to.
No, I would undertake it,
As long as you're happy.
as long as I have, well, I know I have the support of the council anyway,
Yeah,
so
okay.
yes.
I'll try and make sure you get all the papers before,
Yeah.
all the things that I email out, I'll make
Yes.
sure you get copies of.
Chair, with your permission, just one other thing. For the next meeting, I have invited down, with the Chairman's permission, the RSPCA down at Brent Knoll, and they're also going to come and just do a couple of minutes. I've given them a short window of 2 or 3 minutes because they're not on. But yeah, they're going to come down just some of the work that they do on the outskirts of the village. They're very keen to touch base with us and make us aware of the charitable work that they do. With the Chair's permission, he's allowed us a couple of minutes at the beginning of the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all noted, John.
Thank you.
Okay, so I won't see you at April, but I'll see you at the AGM.
Yeah, in the parish meeting,
Yeah.
the 19th.
Yes.
Sorry, just a couple of things. Firstly, big shout out to John just actually, because you were mentioned in the local news with your work on the allotments, isn't it? And you're working in the standards, so I thought that was a really good thing. We talk about perception of councillors, and you are a councillor, and it's really worthy work, so I thought that was excellent to see. And the second thing is, There have been a spate of burglaries down in East Brent. I don't know whether you're aware of it, Colin. And I went past Scott's Lawn, which you know Scott's Lawn, didn't you? Have you seen, and there were police cars outside it yesterday, and all the slate of the roof seems to, I don't know whether it's
There's no big fire.
It's not
Burnt
down.
down.
It's been burnt down?
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Oh, really? Right, well, thank you, that was the answer. Really?
Planning
How did it happen?
application there.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Useful question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for coming this evening. Thank you.